Imagine a boy growing up in a small town where he never quite fits in. The world sees him as strange, too loud, too intense, too much. His hair is a wild curtain, his clothes are worn and patched with band logos no one recognizes, and he speaks in a frantic, passionate way that makes people step back. This is Eddie Munson. To the town of Hawkins, Indiana, he is a freak, a delinquent, a suspected cult leader, and the poster boy for everything they fear. He's in his senior year of high school for the third time. Not because he isn't smart, but because the system has no place for him. He lives in a rusty trailer with his kind but weary uncle, and his future looks like a dead end. In a world that constantly tells him he is wrong, that he is a mistake, where does a person like Eddie find the strength to stand up straight, to look the world in the eye and grin? For Eddie, that salvation, that lifeline, did not come from a person or a place, but from a sound, the roaring, chaotic, beautiful sound of heavy metal music. Metal, to Eddie, was far more than just noise. It was a language. When he felt anger at the hypocrisy of the town, the judgment of his peers, or the struggles of his own life, he didn't have the polite words to express it. But the screaming vocals of a singer like Rob Halford from Judas Priest, the thunderous, intricate guitar riffs of Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, the sheer aggressive energy of the music, it spoke that anger for him. It translated the storm inside his heart into something tangible, something powerful. In his hands, a guitar wasn't just an instrument, it was a weapon against silence, a tool to carve out his own space in a world that wanted to shut him up. When he played, those complex, fast riffs were proof. They were proof that he was not just a burnout. He was dedicated, skilled, and fiercely intelligent. The music demanded discipline, theory, and incredible dexterity. It was a math equation played at lightning speed with feeling. Every time he mastered a new solo, it was a secret victory, a quiet middle finger to everyone who ever called him stupid or worthless. The music gave him a vocabulary for his rage and his pain, but also for his triumph. More important than giving him a voice, however, metal gave Eddie a family. This is the true heart of his story. In the mundane, often cruel landscape of Hawkins High, Eddie was utterly alone. But every Friday night, in the dim, damp basement of the school, a miracle happened. He transformed from Eddie the Freak into Eddie the Dungeon Master, leading a band of other outcasts, kids who were too shy, too nerdy, too different, on grand adventures in the game dungeons. The unofficial soundtrack of their rebellion was metal. He saw the same spark in these kids that he felt in himself. They didn't belong to the neat, clean world of sports and pep rallies. They were the lost sheep, and he, with his battle jacket and his cassettes, was their shepherd. He introduced them to the epic storytelling of bands like Dio, where songs were about slaying dragons, fighting demons, and standing against darkness. The music's themes of battling monsters and defending your party were a perfect mirror for their own game. And more importantly, for their real lives. They were all fighting their own demogorgons of loneliness and bullying. In that club, headbanging to a shared tape, they were not alone. They were a congregation, and the music was their hymn. This sense of community reached its peak with his own band, Corroded Coffin. Here, the music moved from private solace to public declaration. Playing in sweaty, half-empty garages or at the local hideout, the hideout was their version of selling out Madison Square Garden. It was raw, it was loud, and it was theirs. On that small stage, Eddie wasn't hiding. He was performing, commanding, unleashing every bit of that pent-up energy. For those few songs, he was a hero to his small but devoted crowd. The band was a unit, a team where everyone had a role and everyone was essential. It was proof that he could build something, could lead, could create joy and excitement from nothing. The music created a physical space where being different was the price of admission, and where the normal rules of Hawkins did not apply. It was a sanctuary built on distortion and double-kick drums. When the terrifying upside-down chaos invaded Hawkins yet again, it was this very language and community that equipped Eddie not to run, but to fight. Faced with literal bats from a hellish dimension in the trailer park, most people would freeze or break. Eddie, terrified out of his mind, did something astonishing. He grabbed his guitar. Standing on the roof of his trailer, facing a swirling, deadly storm, he didn't pick up a gun or a knife. He played the most face-melting, technically wild, emotionally charged guitar solo he could muster. It was Master of Puppets by Metallica, a song about being controlled by outside forces. Which was exactly what the town's dark entity, Vecna, was doing. This was not just a distraction, it was the ultimate act of using his art as a weapon. He was using the only thing he had ever truly owned, his music, his skill, the sound of his own spirit, to protect his friends. In that moment, every hour spent alone practicing, every judgment he endured for his taste, every time the music made him feel strong, it all culminated in a single, heroic act. He was no longer playing for a garage crowd, he was playing a requiem for a monster, using riffs as a battle cry. He was the bard in his own was for Eddie the complete opposite. It was constructive. It built him up from the inside. It gave him a complex, expressive voice when he felt mute. It gave him a loyal, loving family when he felt abandoned. And in his final moments, it gave him unimaginable courage. He showed a generation of viewers that the freaks and the weirdos are often the ones with the deepest hearts and the bravest souls. They find each other in the margins, bonded by the stories and sounds that speak to them. Eddie didn't live to see a world that accepted him, but in his short life, he created a world of his own. He taught us that sometimes the loudest, most chaotic noise can be the sound of someone finding their way home, and that a lifeline doesn't always come softly. Sometimes it arrives in a screaming guitar solo, a pounding drumbeat, and the raised horns of a community that finally, truly understands. His legacy is a reminder that the things we love, the passions that set us apart, are often the very things that will connect us, define us, and give us the strength to be heroes in our own stories.